Hi folks, Joe Stagner from Microsoft here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to set up your development environment to work with Ajax applications and ASP.NET. This is actually one of two videos. In this video I'm going to show you how to set up your development environment when working with ASP.NET 3.5, and in the companion video I'll show you how to set up your development environment for building Ajax applications using ASP.NET 2.0. So the first thing we'll do here in Visual Studio is to create a website, and you'll notice here something new in Visual Studio 2008 and ASP.NET 3.5. There's no Ajax project type, and the reason for that is since we're using .NET Framework 3.5, Ajax technology is just built into the framework. So there's no Ajax specific project type. We just create a web application project. So over here in our toolbox, if we scroll down a little bit, what we'll find is this tab for Ajax extensions. To start using the Ajax controls, I can simply drop an Ajax control, in this case an update panel, onto our page, and add a content template. And let's see, let's add a text box and a button just for example's sake. So text box, button, and in the button controls code behind we'll do a little update. The quintessential hello world application. And let's go ahead and run this, and I'll tell you in advance this is going to crash when we run it. And the reason is, even though ASP.NET has Ajax built in version 3.5, a script manager is required on the page. Thankfully, this is not a cryptic error message, and it tells us very clearly the control ID with update panel 1 requires a script manager on the page. So let's go ahead and put one on the page. Back in our Ajax extensions tool tab, grab a script manager, drop it inside the form tag on our page, and now let's go ahead and run. And voila, we're off and building Ajax-enabled applications. Now that's part one, but the other part that we need to do is, if you're building ASP.NET applications using Microsoft Ajax, you're probably also going to use the Ajax Control Toolkit. So let's go ahead and configure our IDE to use the Ajax Control Toolkit. Now, the way to do that is to point your browser at ASP.NET, click on the Ajax tab. Over on the Ajax tab, scroll down a little bit, click this button, View the Control Toolkit. And then click on this link, Download the Control Toolkit, which will take us over to the Codeplex page where the Ajax Control Toolkit lives. And we want to download the version that's appropriate for us. Since we're working with ASP.NET 3.5 in this video, we can just grab the framework version, the control version that's right here in the Downloads and Files section. And you can choose whichever downloads are appropriate for you. I like to download the source code along with the assemblies because I tend to like to look into the source code. So let's go ahead and pop that on our desktop. Now that I've done that, I can export this, and in order to do that, I'm going to unzip it right here onto my desktop. Now, I want to put this someplace where it'll be regularly accessible, so I'm going to go into Program Files, and this is not something you have to do. This is just the convention that I use on all of my development machines. So I'm going to go to Program Files, Microsoft.NET, and then I'm going to drag the Ajax Control Toolkit folder that I just unzipped into the Microsoft.NET subdirectory. There's one more thing that I do, and again, this is not necessary for your purposes, but the binaries folder doesn't actually contain the Toolkit DLL. So we can get the Toolkit DLL if we go into the sample website directory and the bin folder there and grab all of these files. Now, all of these files, these subdirectories, have resource DLLs for non-English languages. So if you're developing multilingual applications, you probably want to get those. I'm just going to grab the DLLs, but if you're developing multilingual applications, you'll want to grab these support resource DLLs as well. Now I'm going to back up a little bit, and I'm going to go into binaries, and I'm going to drop the Ajax Control Toolkit DLL in my binaries directory. And again, this isn't necessary for you. This is just a convention. You can put them anywhere that you like. Now let's go back into our sample application, and I need to create a tool tab for the Ajax controls. Now, of course, you don't technically need to create a tool tab. You can do all of the coding by hand, but from my perspective, it doesn't make sense. The other thing is that part of coding the Ajax control toolkit into your applications by hand means that you have to manually create the DLL references, etc. So it's much easier to let Visual Studio do that for you. So in order to do that, I'm going to first create a new tab, and I'm going to call it Ajax Toolkit 3.5. And I'm going to move that tab up next to my Ajax extensions just so it's easy to find. And then I'm going to say choose items. Now, choose items will take a little bit of time because it has to go do sort of an inventory of the global assembly cache and find all of the .NET assemblies that might have instantiatable controls in them. In our case, we're not going to use controls that are in an assembly in the global assembly cache, but in fact, we're going to navigate and select the DLL that we just installed for the Ajax Control Toolkit. So I'm going to go to Local Disk, Program Files, Microsoft.NET, Ajax Control Toolkit Framework 3.5, Binaries, and then I'm going to select the Ajax Control Toolkit DLL. Now you'll notice that Visual Studio here in the Choose Toolbox Items dialog has pre-selected all of the instantiatable controls in the Ajax Control Toolkit for me. So all I need to do is click on OK. And you can see over here on the left that that tool tab is being populated with all of the controls that are instantiatable from the Ajax Control Toolkit. All right, so this is awesome. Now I'm free to go ahead and use the controls in that that I just created in my tool tab from the Ajax Control Toolkit. So for example, I could go in and say, let's add a confirm button extender. And we'll just very simply do this, and in a follow-up video I'll give you a little bit more detail about using these control extenders. But let's say target control ID is going to be button 1, and confirm text equals "Are you sure?" Now let's go ahead and run. And there's our button extended with a confirm dialog. We'll go ahead and click OK, and we get the behavior that we want. So that's it. If you're using ASP.NET 3.5 in Visual Studio 2008, and as I mentioned, you can do the same thing in Visual Web Developer 2008, that's all it takes to get up and running building Ajax applications using both the ASP.NET 3.5 Ajax technologies as well as the Microsoft Ajax Control Toolkit.